Hey everyone, it's Colin. How's it going? I put out a call for questions and holy crap did you deliver. Now it's my turn to answer them. Stick around. Alright, first question is, what are some of the things you collect and how big is your collection? I don't really collect a whole ton of stuff, largely because I don't have a whole lot of room to store any sort of collection of big things. Obviously, I've got a collection of video games, but it's really more the hardware. I'm more of a hardware collector than I am trying to collect the software. I do collect some vintage computers, mostly vintage Mac and Apple products. I've got kind of a soft spot for the portables, so I've got some of the less common machines like PowerBook 2400, eMate. I've also got a Mac Color Classic, which is one of my favorites. A couple other odds and ends, old iPods, that sort of thing. It's really kind of just the rare stuff that I want to stick to. Other things, really the only other thing I collect, kind of by accident, is TI graphing calculators, as weird as that is. I've had a few over the years, and then when I got married, she had a couple, and it's just kind of grown from there. I think I may eventually fill out that collection, so I don't know if you guys have ones you don't care about and you want to send them in, that'd be cool. I'm missing TI 81, 82, 84, 84 Plus, 86, and 92. I've got the rest of them, and I'll probably do a video about that eventually because that's a really interesting platform and there's some kind of quirky history going on there. So anyway, that's kind of what I've got for a collection. Why are there no clone console teardowns on YouTube? And I assume you mean stuff like the knockoffs, like the GB Boy Color. The simplest answer is there's really not much going on inside them. There have been the occasional rare kind of true hardware clone console where the manufacturer seriously reversed engineered the original console and put pretty much all the same chips in their own version of it and did it. The vast majority have been these kind of, system on a chip based ones where it's just like one or two components inside the console. Like I can tell you inside the GB Boy Color, it's literally just a single SoC and then a flash chip for all those crappy built-in games. So I think there aren't really many teardowns simply because they're not that interesting inside. What was the first video game you ever played and how old were you? Pretty sure I don't really remember, but I'm pretty sure it was the original Mario Brothers on the NES. I was likely 3 or 4 years old at the time. It was probably at a friend's or neighbor's house. I never had an original NES growing up, so I think it was probably original Mario Brothers and or Duck Hunt. Gonna be one of those two. Do you work with sound professionally? Back in college, I had an instructor that said, you could be considered a professional if you ever get paid money to do something. That's a pretty broad way of describing a professional, I think. I don't necessarily agree with that so much, but if you take that interpretation, yes, I have worked with sound professionally. I've always been doing live sound kind of events, helping out, being the AV guy for various things. I still am now, volunteer my time. Whether it's home audio, listening to music, that's kind of where it started, and then getting into pro audio, sound reinforcement, live sound, and then obviously now sound for video because it kind of makes a lot of sense for what I do. I've got a PlayStation Vita, can I play Japanese games on it? The answer is super simple, and that is yes. Sony was awesome with the PlayStation Vita in that they didn't region lock it at all. You can play whatever game you want on whatever version of the hardware. You can put it to English, you can put it to Japanese, you can flip back and forth no matter what you want it to do, super easy. I love the console for that fact. The only little catch is that it won't translate games for you. So if you want to play a Japanese game that doesn't have English built into it as an option for either the audio or the menus or subtitles or anything like that, if the thing is purely in Japanese, you're going to be playing the game in Japanese. In fact, this is my daily driver PS Vita now. It's one of these cool white and lime green PS Vita 2000 models. This was only sold in Japan. It works great. In fact, when I took it out of the box, I was able to plug it into my PS Plus account, log into the store. It worked fine. It didn't care. Yeah, if you like playing international games, the Vita is a good choice. Were you ever much of a Sega guy? Yes, I was, and I still consider myself to be a fan of Sega. The thing is, I don't really want to fall into like one camp or another. I don't want to be a Sega guy versus a Nintendo guy, or a PlayStation guy versus an Xbox guy, something like that. I enjoy Nintendo, I enjoy Sega. In fact, the very first game console I ever owned was a Genesis. I got my start there. There's a story behind that if you go watch my video about the Genesis AV cable review I did from a couple of years ago. Pretty good story there about the Genesis versus the Super Nintendo. But yes, I've always been a fan of Sega. I kind of got out of Sega after the Genesis. I never continued on with the Saturn, but I really want to get into those platforms and explore them, the Saturn, the Dreamcast. There's a lot of good games there, and eventually, yeah, I'll get to it. Perhaps the most popular question that I got asked out of any of them is, what do you do for a living? I work in IT. Simple enough. Who is your favorite game developer, and what developer is doing the most innovative work? Obviously Square Enix, I'm pretty happy with, at least I was pretty happy with them, just because I like the Final Fantasy series quite a bit. They've really kind of slowed down and gotten a bit stagnant, you could say, lately. Just doing a lot of the HD remasters and that kind of thing. Where do I think things are going? Who do I think is doing the most innovative work? I don't think there's a single developer that's doing the most innovative work. What I think the innovation really comes from are all these independent developers. The folks doing the cheaper, like $5, $10 games that you can get download only on places like the eShop or the PlayStation Store. There have been some really interesting and fun games that have come out of the independent studios. So one of my favorite independent games is Goat Simulator, and I know the novelty's kind of worn off on it now, but when that thing came out, it was freaking hilarious. And it was so innovative just with the way the gameplay worked, this real kind of a twisted way of doing a platformer. And I don't think a lot of the big studios or developers have thought along those lines yet. So I would say the independent shops are probably doing the most innovative work. What are your thoughts on VR, and will it succeed? I think VR is really cool as an idea, and in practice it keeps getting better and better. Is it going to succeed? Probably not. It's not going to be that interesting to people simply because it's inconvenient. You've got to put all this junk on your head, right? You've got to put the goggle thing on and headphones, and a lot of the goggle things don't work very well if you wear glasses. And it's just wires everywhere and all of that stuff. And people don't want to deal with that stuff. People don't want to have to get all rigged up just to play a game. I think it's the same reason why 3D on television and movies never really took off. That died off because people got to wear all this crap. You've got to have the glasses, and sometimes they've got to be active ones where they've got to have a battery charge, and oh crap, I forgot to charge the battery, so now I can't watch it in 3D. People didn't want to deal with that crap. I think it's going to be the same thing with VR. Hopefully they'll be able to come up with a better way of doing VR that's a lot more convenient to use and wear, but I just don't see it going there. What do you think Nintendo NX will be like, and what features do you want? I have no idea what features I want out of Nintendo NX. I do think Nintendo has to pull out all the stops when it comes to innovation with it. They basically need to have another slam dunk like they did with the Wii. They need to have another console where people who don't buy game consoles will go out and buy one. It needs to have some innovative gameplay, but it can't be gimmicky. The thing about the Wii, it was fun, but it was still kind of gimmicky, and after a while, it did wear off, the whole motion control thing. I've been hearing lots of rumors about it being some kind of weird hybrid console where there's a mobile component to it, and then there's your kind of at-home console component to it. Maybe as simple as the mobile component is the console itself, and it's kind of going to be like a replacement for the 3DS series, so you can take it with you on the go. It'll have a screen built in, and then when you get home, you either dock it or it just wirelessly, sends its signal to your television and you can keep playing there. I don't really know where that's going to go, and I haven't really thought too much about what specific features I would want. Are you an audiophile? Kind of. I wouldn't really consider myself like a serious audiophile where I'm spending tons and tons of money. I know what I want sound to sound like, and I want to try to achieve that, but I also realize that spending more money on audio gear isn't necessarily going to get me where I want to go. What's the rarest gaming item that you own? I don't really have anything that's terribly rare. I've got some stuff that's less common. Like my Vita from Japan. not really rare. I mean, they made a ton of these off of an assembly line. They just didn't ship any of them really to the US. I guess maybe in terms of domestic stuff, I've got a copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day. Again, they made a bunch of these, but they're not that common. They still hold pretty decent value. I've seen copies of these going for over $100. I don't necessarily agree that they're worth that much, but you know, hey, that's out there. Do you have a Raspberry Pi, and what are your thoughts on the Raspberry Pi 3? As a matter of fact, I do happen to have a Raspberry Pi. I just got it a couple of days before filming this. It is a Raspberry Pi 3. I haven't really done a whole lot with it yet, but it certainly seems really capable. I may try to attempt one of those arcade cabinet kind of builds where it's running the emulator and all that. Lack of space and lack of shop to do all the woodworking and stuff is going to be kind of a limiting factor. So I'm going to have to do some thinking about, is there a creative way that I can make an arcade cabinet given the limitations that I have. But yeah, we'll see. It does seem pretty cool, pretty fast, decent improvement over the previous models. What's your all-time favorite Nintendo game? I know this one seems kind of lame, but I'm going to go Mario 64. The reason why is it just strikes the best balance for me. It's a really fun platformer, but it's a relaxed platformer. You know, a lot of platformer games, you just, even if they don't time you, you get that sense that you need to go through them as quickly as you can. With Mario 64, you just don't feel that pressure at all. It's this complete open, just go ahead and explore kind of world, and I really like that. It was so different than everything else that had come before it. You know, striking difference between, say, Super Mario World and Mario 64. It really felt like video games had kind of come alive. Do you have any qualifications or certifications for electronics engineering, or are you self-taught? I'm pretty much entirely self-taught. I've got certifications, but they're in the IT industry and not specific to electronics engineering. I've just kind of learned everything on my own over the years. Some of it's been stuff that I've had to learn for my job. Some of it's been stuff that I've learned specifically regarding video game console modding and that sort of stuff. And other ones have just been kind of by necessity. There's still a lot that I have to learn. I'm by no means an absolute expert in electrical engineering. You know, I couldn't teach classes on it or anything. But you know, I just pick up skills and knowledge as I need to. What's your opinion on Paper Mario Color Splash? It's real simple. At the time that I'm filming this, the game hasn't even come out yet. Why are you boycotting a game that hasn't come out yet? Have the game come out, and if you don't like it, don't buy it. Do you agree that good speakers cost more than good headphones? Absolutely. I think headphones, when it comes to sound reproduction, are probably the best bang for buck no matter what. I think you will always get more for your money out of a pair of headphones than you will out of speakers. I think it's just amazing the world we live in. You can get an excellent, just absolutely excellent pair of headphones for like $100. And they'll sound fantastic, and you probably won't need anything more than that. So absolutely, if you want the best sound, you're gonna chase something in terms of, you know, being an audiophile or whatever, headphones, best bang for buck. What are your thoughts on the retro gaming market? I think it's finally starting to mature. I remember it really wasn't all that long ago when retro gaming market really just meant used video game store. And the prices were what they were, and usually it was all pretty cheap. The stuff didn't, you know, really have a lot of value. None of it really ever appreciated. It just stayed cheap. Now we're starting to see things mature, and things are starting to gain value based on scarcity and rarity. And I really think, and I've talked about this in a previous video, that it's because of the demographics. People my age, maybe a little bit older, and maybe even a little bit younger, are feeling nostalgic, maybe for the first time in their lives. You know, they remember playing the original NES and the Super NES and these consoles when they were young, and maybe they lost them, they didn't have them anymore. Now they're an adult, they've got a job, they've got a little bit of extra money to spend, they've got maybe a little bit of time on their hands. What the hell, I want to play those old consoles again. So they go out and buy them, and maybe they want to get into some games that they never got into when they were kids, and that drives the prices up. So I think it's going to be a mature market, kind of the same way it is with maybe like retro or vintage cars, other objects like that, where it's not just the prices come down and stay down, where the prices are actually going to start to fluctuate based on supply and demand. We just need to get used to it. It's just something that it was inevitable anyway, I think. And finally, are you going to keep doing tech reviews? Absolutely, I'm going to keep doing tech reviews. I like doing them, not just because it helps me reach a wider audience, but also because they're interesting to me. And that's kind of been the underlying thing about this whole channel. All the videos I've done is I'm not going to do a video on a topic that isn't interesting to me personally. All the stuff that I've reviewed so far have been things that I've either owned or have been very interested in because they either fulfill a need that I may have, and I figure if I have a need like that, somebody else is going to have a need like that, or they compete with a product that I already have and I want to see if they do that thing any better. You know, the mic reviews that I do, does one wireless system work better than another, bang for buck, that sort of thing, because I figure, you know what, if I find a wireless mic system that works really well for me, it's probably going to work really well for other content creators, other YouTubers out there. So absolutely, I'm going to keep doing tech reviews. I like doing them. They give me kind of a break from doing the video gaming stuff, and I hope that's okay with you. I don't really want to be a one-trick pony where I'm just doing these retro game console mods, but I do like doing tech reviews and absolutely keep looking for more of them in the future. And with that, that was my last question. I really appreciate you all sending in the questions. Let me know down in the comments if you liked this video. I know it was a bit longer than usual. I just want to hear what your feedback is. Do you want me to keep doing these Q&As? Maybe we do them a little more frequently than once a year. Just let me know, sound off down in the comments, and we'll see where it goes from there. So if you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Those help quite a bit, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at thisdoesnotcomp. And as always, thanks for watching.